Assalamu alaikum. Alhamdulillah. Allah fi umuri esta'i. Wa inni hukmu ila. Wa ana uthi bayati ala kitabillah wa ala sunnati rasuli alayhi salatu salam. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh lil ikwani wa uwati fi Afrika wa Europa wa Amerika wa kulli makan. Muhammadan huwa sayyidina makbubana innana nahubbuhu wa nataburuhu. Salawatu Allah Ta'ala salamuhu alayhi. Thank you, my dear brothers and sisters, for showing up. And this is an important topic because of recent events. And we should discuss this as Muslims and others as non-Muslims as well, to clear up myths and misinformation, disinformation about Muslims and their marriages. I'd like to shout out here to Mina, assalamu alaikum, dear sister. Recently, we've had incidents, some horrible incidents they've come to light about certain circumstances in marriage. And I wanted to clear this up so we can gain knowledge on how we're supposed to deal with that, because many of us have children who will marry, daughters, sons that will marry and marry Islamic. And you never know what's going to happen on the wedding night or in the course of the marriage. And you should be armed on how to deal with it and what the Sharia Islamiyah is saying about it. As I've said many times before, even though you are Muslim living in France or in Beijing, China, or Zaire, or Johannesburg, South Africa, or Fez, Morocco, we're still responsible for the Sharia. And we have to follow the Sharia to the best of our ability. There's no excuses, and there's no grace periods. There's no, well, I live in California, so therefore I don't have to follow the Sharia. This is not true. You have to follow the Sharia Islamiyah. So this topic here deals with a situation, and I'll get into those situations. There's 3 situations in itself that has called to my attention, and I, matter of fact, was in contact with another scholar, a good friend of mine, about this one particular incident. And the title, as you see, is the fundamentals of the Sharia and dealing with marriage, but dealing the cursing. Now, not cursing meaning like we do in the hood where we curse one another outside the house. No, that's not what we mean here. We're here in what we're talking about in this situation here is when one party accuses the other party of something that's very, very, very wrong. Basically, adultery, especially on the wedding night. And what happens from this point is where we have the confusion. And I have to clear that up. And hopefully I'll do this inshallah ta'ala. Subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it clear his position on this. And in this particular situation, he sides with the sister. This is also why I wanted to talk about this, because we have information that we mistreat the woman. The woman has no rights in Islam. The man, he can kill her when he wants. He can do what he wants. The woman has no rights. She can't say anything. She's basically a doormat inside the house. This is not the case at all. Subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it clear. He's made it clear, especially in this particular surah, Surah Nur, which is Surah 24, the beautiful and important surah, because it deals with our attitudes and how we marry. And I've talked on this subject before in the past, but only passing, not deep into it. I will read off the verse here that's in question to show you what Subhanahu wa ta'ala has said about this particular situation. I'll get into the stories. Well, I'll read this in English for our viewers who don't speak Arabic. Subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Haya, which is the verse 4, he says, those who launch a charge against chaste women and produce not 4 witnesses to support their allegations, flog them with 80 stripes or lashes, and reject their evidence ever after. For such men are wicked transgressors. This is what Subhanahu wa ta'ala has said about the man who accuses his wife of adultery. He's got to bring forth these witnesses. Now we'll get into why I want to talk about this subject. In the subcontinent, this happens a lot, where we have draconian customs to ferret out the woman who's supposed to be quote unquote a virgin before the marriage. And what has happened is, in certain circumstances, the young man and young woman marry, and he puts a cloth underneath her during the time of their mating to consummate the marriage, to see if there's any blood. If there's no blood, and a lot of times they determine that this woman is impure. Now we know that in science that you can read this online. The hymen that breaks, in modern times, the women are very active. They ride bicycles, they're playing sports. Some break naturally. Some may not even break during the time of the consummation for 3 days. Some may be a week and then break. It may not even bleed. But what has happened in these situations of marriage, the man sees there's no blood, and then there's an uproar that the woman is unchaste, that the woman has been with other men in the past. Subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it clear in this that she is to be protected, and protected with the weight of the government behind her. And as you see, Subhanahu wa ta'ala says 2 things: that the person will be flogged 80 stripes, and then his testimony, meaning forever, he'll never be able to testify again because he made transgression against his wife or against another woman that we see today. And I'll get into some other parts of that, especially what's happening in the United States. How do we come about this particular situation? The famous case of the wife of our prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam, Aisha, radiallahu anha. And what happened with her, there was an allegation that surfaced against her, and they didn't just allegation, it was a vicious allegation against her. And it spread through the new Muslim community, and it was vicious, and it just about destroyed her. If you read the hadith, her comments about that, you can feel her pain and hurt. The Prophet ﷺ was in a situation where he, of course, that's his wife, he heard of the situation, and he asked Subhanahu wa ta'ala for his guidance. And in the meantime, it's about almost 4 weeks. And at this time, Subhanahu wa ta'ala gave our prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam, the answer that these men were lying. There's some evidences that Subhanahu wa ta'ala gave why these men lied. And the verse came down to support these men who do lie like this and what happens to them. So this is how we come about this. The alana Allah alayh, meaning the curse of Allah be on you. We say this sometimes in certain circumstances against people who do things wrong, but in this circumstances, they're here, it also applies. But that's in a court of law, in the Sharia court, which we don't have. And let me say this, my dear sisters and brothers, because of this dismantling of the Sharia, we have many problems. We have many problems like this today. We have people doing what they want to do. And it's against the Sunnah. There's nothing written by our prophet. by our companions, the 3 generations, or any of the scholars, or any of the 4 great doctrines that we follow that lead us to the Sunnah and the Kitabi, the Quran. None of them have come with these draconian ways that some of the brothers are coming with. I even hear now some African Americans are doing this in the United States as well, where they ferret out to see if their wife is actually a virgin or not. If they don't get the litmus test of the blood, then they determine that she has been unchaste, and therefore they divorce her almost on the spot, or they tell her to go home. This is cruel, my dear sisters and brothers, and it's uncalled for. And we as Muslims should not engage in that, because there's nothing to substantiate that. Here's the situation, and I'll get into it. We had a situation here. We have a young man on a continent, on the subcontinent, who married. He did this. He put the cloth underneath his wife, and they engaged, and he found that there was no blood. From this point, he declared that she was unfit, she was unchaste. And she then, there of course there was the village and so forth got involved. He then went outside to declare that his new wife on honeymoon day was what had made prior sexual relations before they got married. You cannot do this, my sisters and brothers. You cannot do this. There's method to doing this, and I'll get into that. That's one of the cases we're talking about. We have another case which is even vicious as well, where we had another young man and woman married. This is also in the subcontinent. He married a woman who was a Hindu, and she converted to Islam. They married. When they consummated the marriage, the man was 40 some years old and she was 20. So he was experienced, he was divorced. So when he had relations with his wife, the consummated marriage the first night, he could feel that she was not a virgin, as she testified to. And he immediately saw that there was a lot of discharge and whatnot, that just didn't seem normal to him. So at this point, he broke away from his wife, and he asked his wife questions, and she, of course, denied everything. Well, when he went and he took swabs of the stuff that he was on himself, you understand what I mean? He took it and then gave it, and they live in some region there where they practice some Sharia. And so they gave it to a laboratory. The laboratory tested and found that there was a donor. Another donor, sperm donor, had already was inside her system. So that means that days prior to her marriage with her husband, she engaged in sexual relations with another man prior to that. This brother didn't run outside to declare anything. He went and got the testing. He tested the swabs and found that there was 2 donors. They don't know who the other person was. She's still in denial of that, but it was clear by the analysis that she had had relations with another man before her marriage. The last one was the case that's now an African American married an Indian woman, a sister married her. And he, in turn, started to develop the ways of the subcontinent as far as marriage, the ferreting out of the virginity. And when he engaged with his wife, he learned the same thing. He put the cloth, because this is what his brothers from the subcontinent told him, because he went to a master who was predominantly Indians, and they told him, well, if you don't see this, then you know what's going on, or she's not a virgin, and so forth. So this brother basically told her to go home. After he found that there was no blood, he said, okay, this is something else. Well, the family immediately took her to a doctor, and the doctor confirmed that she was a virgin, that her hymen broke maybe years before, but by examining her, he knew that she was a virgin. And we don't need to get into the technical details about the private parts of a woman on this show. And so anyway, he determined that she was actually a virgin. So he erred. And the couple got back together, alhamdulillah. And so those are the three cases. Now we're going to get into this. The Surah Nur, which is the Surah 24 and the verse 4, subhanahu wa ta'ala, again, he talks about the 80 lashes if you don't have the 4 witnesses. The man who, the first scenario where he ran out of the house and declared that his wife was not a virgin and she was unchaste, he went and told a couple of people and it spread. This is slander in Islam and subject to the punishment that's rendered by subhanahu wa ta'ala and this particular verse here, which is the 80 lashes. Now, you say, Yahya, you know, this is not fair. What if your wife, now you have a situation where the wife has had sexual relations with another man before, like the second case, and the man has no remedies. He do have remedies. He has remedies. I'll get into that. And let me say also to clear up something. In Islam, if I come home and say I had got reports from neighbors saying, hey, I've been seeing a strange man come every other day to your house. He stays 1 hour, 2 hours, and he departs the house. I come to the house and I find my my wife in the shower, taking a shower, and I find a young man inside my bedroom. In Islam, there's no honor killing. I want to make that clear now. We know on the subcontinent and other, Iran and some other countries, they do this. This is not Islamic. There's no honor killings. You can't kill him and kill her. You cannot do it. You order him out. Can you beat him? No, you cannot. This is our law. This is not the American law where you have certain things you can do and so forth. Maybe you can get away, especially if the man who was making the debauchery with the wife, if he's black. Well, you know what happens in the United States, but you cannot beat him as well. Now, if this is your house, you have the right to protect it. She's your wife, even though perhaps there might have been a situation, you have the right to protect your house. You order the man out. Now, if he comes to attack you, you deal with it. You do what you got to do to protect yourself and to force him out of the house. You have that right. You do have that right. There's nothing saying that you cannot do that. Secondly, because of the Sharia, you have the right at this time, because you found her in a situation, you could expel her from the house, meaning you send her back to her parents or to a relative's house. You can't throw her out on the street. This happens because the men are protector of women. Our Sharia, we don't like it. Even if she's done wrong here, you cannot get her and throw her out there on the street at 12 o'clock at night, because who's going to protect her? And then what happens is somebody come along and see her, she's distraught, she's upset, she's just been expelled from her house, and some thugs come down in the car and they see her and they get her, and then you know what happens? Something may happen to her. And so it's best that you leave the house and you keep your wife inside the house. It's better because you can protect yourself. She cannot. If there's people, you know that in the United States especially, who pray looking for women at 10, 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning who are homeless and so forth. So this is a situation. I want to take my stop here to greet Jahari. How you doing, sister? Assalamu alaikum. Glad to see you come. Thank you very much for showing up, my dear sister. So as we get back, there's no honor killings. You can't kill him. You can't kill her. You can expel him from the house. And again, but you still can't accuse your wife of adultery because you have not 4 witnesses. You did not see the act being consummated, but you can assume that something happened. Now, under the Sharia, I have no right to leave the house and run down the street to yell to all the people that my wife is adulterous. And I got the man, and this man's name is so-and-so, and I found her taking a shower, and he was in my bedroom. And I run down the street and tell the whole block, and everybody come running out the street. They trying to figure what's going on. I'm yelling, oh, you know, my wife's adulterous. This is what I found. This is slander in Islam. Can't do it. Your recourse is the court. This is where it comes in now. The other case I was talking to the brother who there in the United States married the Indian sister. His situation like this. Now they would have went to the court. This is where we were talking about the la'an, okay, ainu, where the curse. You go before the judge. This is our Sharia, and you swear 4 times to the judge, okay, by Allah, that your wife committed a act of debauchery. 1, you can say, I came home, I found a strange man inside my house. No court in the land will tell you no, because under the Sharia, it's your house. You're the protector of the house. You're the protector of your wife. You have the right to include or exclude who you want in the house. When you leave the house, the woman is not supposed to let a strange man inside the house. Now, that's 1. Secondly, you found her in a compromising position. Perhaps they were copulating on the bed, or maybe they just finished, but you found her in some situation where it suggests that this happened. So you swear the 4 times before the judge that you saw this happen. The 5th is where it's dangerous. The 5th oath is that you declare that, and now you put the punishment on Allah on you if you lie. This is how we handle it in Islam. We don't go run through the whole city of LA and declaring our wife to be a harlot. We cannot do that. Even if she did something inside your house, you cannot do that. You cannot go run around through the city and declare her to be this. Now, the wife in question, she also has to swear the 4 times that she did not commit these acts, that she did not make adultery inside of her house. And she declares the 4 times that she did not do it. And then the 5th time is, again, she swears by Allah, and the curse on Allah be on her if she lies. So this is how we handle our cases like this. And again, let's go back again. The brother comes inside the house. He finds her in a compromised position, even if they were copulating. He doesn't have the 4 witnesses. And now let's go back to something about the 4 witnesses. Can I just get anybody? I get gangsters. I can get thugs, people like that, and go to them and testify. Have them to testify. No, you cannot. They have to be reputable persons, and all 4 would have to see the act of copulation, not the aftermath of it. The act of the copulation in itself. Where the 4 witnesses can testify they saw the copulation occur. Now you have a case, and these 4 men are reputable. That's 1. The second, now I'm going to switch this around. Remember I said the brother cannot run out of the house and declare down the street his wife is adulterous, she's a harlot, and so forth, and call her all kind of names. And now there's 2 witnesses. There's 2 men standing in the corner. They saw the incident. And they heard, and I run to them and I'm yelling and calling all kind of names. He can go before the court now and charge me with slander. This again is in protection of the woman. Now you see how this works? Even though I saw this inside the house, I cannot go outside and make these declarations. I cannot. And all you need is 2 witnesses. If the 2 men come back to her and says, to my wife, and say, hey, I was out there, your husband, he really said bad things to you. Well, he didn't let me explain. The man came inside the house. He came to fix, I forgot to call him and tell him he came to fix the air conditioner inside the house. And, and so forth and so on. If that's a lie or not, that's between her and Subhanahu wa ta'ala. But she has a defense for that. But I have no right to go out on the street and declare her as such as that. So what happens is at this time, 2 witnesses come forward against me. And guess what happens? I'm subject to the had, we call punishment in Arabic, in the Sharia, of this number 4 here, the 80 lashes. If we live in an Islamic state, in a real Islamic state where we have an Islamic judge, we have the Hezbollah police who enforces the Sharia. They would do an investigation. The 2 men would be questioned. and they cannot lie. They have to talk. They have to testify for justice. This is our rule. There's no buying of witnesses. There's no buying of legal experts like you have in the United States. There's no rigging of juries like we have in the United States. We cannot do this in Islam. The two men must testify to justice, even if it's against themselves. If they heard me say these things, they must tell the qadi, yes, the judge, yes, I heard Yahya saying this about his wife. I heard him calling her vicious names. I heard he did this and he did that and he said this. I'm in trouble for that. So I want you to understand now, sisters and brothers, how serious a matter this is. But I want to also show you how Islam works. Why I prefer our law than the so-called Christian law of the United States and Europe, where the laws are biased and the laws go according to the color of the person. We know that. How many brothers, you know, in our history, 400 years, have been stringed up, castrated, burnt at stake like an animal over false testimony or some alleged incident? We don't have this in Islam, because Islam always goes with the innocent first. That's how. We don't care if she's Indian. We don't care if she's Iranian. We don't care if she's a sister from California. We go for the innocents. We protect the innocent first, and the proof has to be overwhelming. That's why subhanahu wa ta'ala is ordered that you have to have 4 credible witnesses. 4 credible witnesses to declare that this is adultery. If you don't have that, only 3, no go. Still not, we can't charge her with that. 2 of them saw it, the other 2 missed it. We cannot. The other 2 cannot testify before the qadi that they also witnessed the copulation of my wife with another man. Cannot. They must be held responsible if they do tell the story. So I want to make that clear to you how beautiful our Sharia is. It's got a bad rap because everybody thinks that the Sharia means that you kill, relentlessly. You kill and you do things. Assalamu alaikum, my brother Isaac. How you doing, my dear brother? Thank you for coming. We don't kill relentlessly here in our Sharia. We do this according to our laws, and they're not draconian because they protect the community. If we had the Sharia today in the United States, do you know how much venereal disease we would stop? Do you know how many people would be out of jails? They wouldn't even been in jail. And this is something that is close to me, because every black man just about has been accused somehow, something or other, because it's risque. It's the genre to accuse a black man, stealing, robbing. You know what's happening to the Tuba woman. She goes to the park. She see a black man there doing something in the park. He's sitting there. He may be reading, and she go to him, and she don't like his comments. She go call the police and say, hey, this man touched me. And then and he's a black man. And the police come with gun first and hit the man, startle, boom, 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 you shoot and kill him. There's no problem to it. All because of false allegations. We have a remedy for this in our law. The false allegation person who makes up these lies like this, we flog them. We get them. They don't have the witnesses. That's why nobody come forward. And speaking of that, the Me Too generation that's happening in the United States, what is the Sharia's response to that? You have cases now you have hordes of brothers being thrown in jail. African Americans, whites, Hispanics. Woman declares 30 years later that the encounter she had with a man at a hotel became rogue, that he attacked her. 30 years, no evidence, no witnesses. 2 weeks ago or something, yes, I came in the store and this is what Yahya did to me. He brushed me and he followed me. There's no witnesses. She didn't go report at the time. She waited 2 weeks later to do it. Or another situation where a famous athlete who went out on a date, he decided he didn't want to marry the young lady, and the lady gets mad. She wants revenge, and she know how the police feel about the black man. So she runs to the police and says, hey, guess what? He's a famous athlete, and guess what happened? Guess what he did to me inside the car? No evidence, no witnesses. In Islam, you can't do that. If a woman shows up at the Hezbollah police, at the Sharia, and declare that I did something 30 years ago, they would arrest her for slander because she has no witnesses. That's right. And we will stop this Me Too generation. Now, let's look at this, my brothers and sisters. How many African Americans from 1619 were lynched based on the testimony of a rogue two-bob woman over allegations like this. And they use sex against the African-American man relentlessly. Still today, it has never stopped. And we've had innocent black men killed, strung up, castrated. And when they couldn't do that, they jailed them based upon a rogue testimony from a two-bob woman. And nowadays we have sisters doing that. We have sisters putting brothers over out of revenge and no evidence. And the prosecutors don't care. They want their records. They want to get as many prosecutions because they get promoted. They get money for it. So they don't care about the justice. In Islam, we cannot do that. We have to answer for that. If I come in running there talking about something like that, they say, yeah, okay, sir, do you have the 4 witnesses? You have anybody like this? Can you bring the 4 witnesses forward so we can examine them and take their testimony? No. Clack, clack. I'm arrested for slander. So, my dear sisters and brothers, Islamic law is no joke. And it's practical, and it protects the community. It protects the woman and the man. And you say, well, okay, I hear you say this, yeah, this is like protection of the woman. I just got through talking about the Me Too generation, what they're doing to men. The woman has the right also to testify before the court, but she has to have the right evidence as well. She can't leave the house and say, my husband is having relations with my good friend without evidence. It's slander. She cannot. Now she can go testify before the judge 4 times by Allah that she knows that I had these relations, and then 5th, the punishment of Allah on her if she lies. She can do that, but she can't run down the street and tell all the sisters, hey, guess what? Yahya's no good. He's been having relations with my dear friend. Can do it. So my dear sisters and brothers, I'm hoping I get this clear to you about how our Sharia works. This is the basics, and we should clear up these matters because some of us will have our sisters, our sons and daughters we marrying Islamically, and you need to know how to deal with a situation like this. And I'll go through some things here as I speak here. As I went through the cases here, now I'm going to go over some of the things in the Quran to show you the seriousness of what Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has said about this issue. When we as human beings, we are human beings, we do foul up, we make mistakes. And we hurt one another, especially when we marry, relentlessly. We know that. What is said inside the house is one thing. When it goes outside the house, it even hurts more. We have to be very careful on that. Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has said, he talks about the liar. And a couple of verses after this, he talks about, the oath, the 5th oath, as I explained to you, how dangerous this is. Do you know that this lands you to the hellfire if you lie? If I go testify and I give the 5th oath to him saying that my wife had committed adultery when I lied on her out of revenge, I go to the fire. Subhanahu wa Ta'ala says here in verse 9, in the same surah Nur, which is 24, in verse 9, he says, and the 5th oath should be that she solemnly invokes the wrath of Allah on herself if her accuser is telling the truth. Meaning, if she comes to testify, or my wife accuses me, I come to testify that, that I didn't do this when I know it's a lie. And that's right there in itself telling the truth. The accuser, the 5th oath, and I lie. I go and I lie. You go to the fire for this under our Sharia. Unfortunately, but this is the way it happens because Islam protects us, the community. It doesn't want women running around lying. They don't want men running around lying. And they don't, and Subhanahu wa Ta'ala hates to have the slander of a chaste woman. Now, what do we mean by chaste woman? I know people heard me say this before, and they probably heard this term. Chaste women in Islam means one, a young woman, okay, inexperienced, teenager, young woman, unmarried, and she's, sterling reputation, and she's chaste. And then the boys at the school go to ruin her reputation by saying that she's done things. Okay. Secondly, we have a woman who is married, and she only has sexual relations within this marriage. She's chaste. Her dealings is inside the marriage. She doesn't walk outside the house, and she's hanging around with different men. She don't go to the bars and so forth and so on. And here's the other part to this. Part of the chaste woman is married, and she's obedient to her husband. You say, oh, yeah, this sounds like slavery. No, let me clarify this. The obedience meaning that her husband says, I don't want men coming in the house when I go to work. I don't want anybody coming in the house until I come home. She obeys that. When he says, if you're going to go outside the house, I need to know before you leave that you're going to go to the store for the groceries. Now, let me add something to this. If you already have an arrangement with your wife, you trust her, there's no problem. Your wife get in the car and she go, there's no questions. There's no problem. That husband has the right to do that. He say, hey, sweetheart, look, go ahead. Anytime you need to go to the store, you want to go out to get some groceries, you want to go out for a while, you go ahead. I trust my wife enough. She has her own car, keys and everything. She goes, no problem with that. But if I give an order and say, no, look, there's a lot of things going on right there. Wait till I come home, then go out. But if she disobeys, she now becomes unchaste because she's now disobedient. Now, the third case is the divorced woman. She divorced, whatever the situation may be, but she did not commit adultery. She's not accused of adultery. They divorced because they couldn't get along. And after the divorce, she maintained her chastity. She didn't go dating. She didn't go out. Her reputation is sterling. She's a chaste woman. These three particular sisters, you better be very careful, my dear brothers, to defame them. Subhanahu wa ta'ala hates it. And when you do defame them, you have a serious 80 lashes. Can you imagine what that feels like on the back? You get this. Oh, this is our Sharia, to stop the slandering of our sisters. So our dear sisters and those who are not Muslims who say, and people who say that the Sharia doesn't protect a woman, I beg to differ. Subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it clear here what he feels about the chaste woman. You cannot do that. I gave you the three chaste women, and there's some other ones too, but I just wanted to give you those three. And this is the beauty of our religion. We have protection of the man, we have the protection of the woman. Now, here's what Subhanahu wa ta'ala says in verse 23 to show up what I'm saying, how he feels about the chaste woman. He loves her. He wants her protected. He says in verse 23 of the same surah, Nur 24, he says, those who slander chaste women, indiscreet but believing, are cursed in this life, and the hereafter for them is a grievous penalty. Subhanallah, Allahu Akbar. This is what he just said. Subhanahu wa ta'ala just said this. You heard my words. Subhanahu wa ta'ala says that you will see your punishment in this life and the life hereafter for slandering a chaste woman. So that should clear up some matters, perhaps for some of the Muslims who do not understand our laws, how serious it is when we marry and we run outside here and we tell our inner secrets, and I tell you something, this don't just stop with this. When the brothers go and, in the hood, we go out, we're Muslims and we meet or something, we go drink some coffee and have some pastries. And I begin to talk about my wife inside the bedroom. Yeah. What she do and what she don't do. Maybe two of the brothers who I never saw before took issue with that. And if we lived in a Sharia state they would go to the husband and say, look, I just witnessed something. It was horrifying. I just heard this man talking about what his wife does inside the bedroom, or what she do inside the house, how she looks when she's naked. They get me for slander. Yes, that's how serious it is. So my dear sisters and brothers, I brought up these points to you because I wanted you to understand that Islam is a living religion, and we love our sisters. We do everything we can protect them, and we have teeth behind what we say. I give you that. Anybody who the Muslims among us here, or even the non-Muslims who study Islam, they know Muslims, now you have a defense. You can talk. When they start, oh no, the man can kill, he can beat, all of that stuff, honor killing, the daughter who marries a boy that they don't want. All of that is criminal. Has nothing to do with Islam. There's no honor killing. As I specified, no Sheikh Islam has ever said you can do that. And if he says that, someone need to take him to task and report him, because he just misled, and he's a criminal himself, because there's no honor killings in Islam. I can't go kill my daughter. I can't go kill my wife because I saw my wife talking to some strange man on the corner. And then I wait for her to come home and I shoot her dead and say, well, it's honor killing. No, in Islam, there's no such thing as a criminal act. You cannot do that. I want to also say something else to you here as well. Subhanahu wa ta'ala says in another verse here, he tells us, he counsels us, because now the slander has been brought up about a chaste woman. He says about the person who's slandering a chaste woman, he says, why did they not bring 4 witnesses to prove it? This is in the protection of our sister. Then he says, when they have not brought the witnesses, such men in sight of Allah, stand forth themselves, are liars. This is what he says. Even if this brother prays, even if this brother wears the iman, he has a beard, he looks like he's a Sheikh Islam. But he did not bring forth the 4 witnesses. Hey, in the sight of Subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're a liar. And you're gonna go down for it. You will go down for it. That's right. This is our law. And Subhanahu wa ta'ala also tells us in another verse 21, he says, oh, you believe, follow not Shaitan's footsteps. If any will follow the footsteps of Satan, he will be command what is shameful and wrong. Where is not for grace and mercy of Allah on you, not one of you will ever be pure, but Allah purifies who he pleases, and Allah is the one who hears and knows all things. Interesting. Subhanahu wa ta'ala here talks about, again, an issue. He says here, don't follow, because we all are human beings. We get the whispers of Shaitan. I'm angry. I'm angry with my wife. Okay, very angry. And I step out of the house and I begin to lambaste her. Who do you think's doing that? You think Subhanahu wa ta'ala? Remember something. Subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't mislead the Muslim. He doesn't go to tell any human being, matter of fact, to go out and do something wrong. That's from the devil. When you hear this inner, okay, yeah, you go and do this. You go to these people here and you say this. This is Shaitan whispering. The footsteps of Shaitan that's around you. He's trying to tell you to do these things. This is not Subhanahu wa ta'ala. You got to remember that. Subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't misguide. But Subhanahu wa ta'ala also allows those to be misguided who he pleases. If he says, okay, I'm going to bring you back from the darkness to the light, if he wills. This is what he's talking about here. If he wills. If I did this error and I asked Subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness, perhaps he will forgive me and he will bring me back into the fold again and get the good graces of Subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so I wanted to go over some of those things, and I hope that you guys understand what's happening here. If there's any questions here, please let me know here and write them. There's some questions here because this is pretty straightforward. We're all adults, we're not children, and we know We all have been guilty of doing things. Okay, we make mistakes. But in Islam, this particular mistake is very, very, very dangerous. And even, I'll give you an example of something too. Let's go back. I catch my wife, okay? Maybe she's sitting in the room here and the man is up in the bedroom, okay? And I'm angry with her. I said, why you didn't call me to tell me what is going on here? I see the man come out and he's suggestive. He's got a shirt on, he got pants on. It looked like he's unruffled. It looked like something might have happened. Then I throw the man out of the house. My wife, in turn, angry with me because I wouldn't believe her. She runs outside and she goes and tells a bunch of her friends. This is what Yahya did. This is what Yahya said. This is slander. This is slander, my sisters and brothers. Now we go the other way to show that the men are protected as well. The marriage, the spouses must protect one another and their honor. It's not a one-way street. My wife goes out of anger, out of revenge, and she says, okay, I'm gonna get you for what you just did. And she runs outside and she goes to defame me to all the sisters. That's slander. She cannot do that. Even if I'm wrong, she cannot do this. It's slander. And if two witnesses, two women come forward on her and say, you know what, I was there when she slandered her husband. She said her husband is this, he's a liar, he's a fornicator, this is what he is, he's been looking at woman, he's been doing this with the woman. That's slander. And now she's subject to arrest and brought before a judge and found guilty, of course, of this and the 80 lashes. Now let me also say something about the qadi, the judge. We're still human beings. There's certain circumstances that our judges may allow or may give you leniency. Let me give you one example. And this happens. Say you have a young couple and this man comes home, this young brother come home. He loves his wife dearly. Okay. And he finds her in the bed with another man. They might have finished or just before copulation or whatever, but they were still in the bed. Out of grief, out of anguish, out of hurt, shame, he runs out of the house and he begins to scream outside what he saw. The judge, in this case, the qadi, we call them in Arabic, he may give him leniency. Because he may look at the situation. He's a young man. If he's a man of my age, no, I should know better. But maybe young man, distraught, he runs out of the house and he's not talking to anybody in particular. He's just screaming what he saw. My wife is with another man. I don't know what it was. Why? He's lost his mind for those minutes because he's so distraught. Perhaps the qadi may see this and he may give him the leniency. So we are not inhuman. Not everything is straightforward. There's certain circumstances that there may not be no punishment, and I give you that one. And the same way with our sister. Our sister comes home and she comes early. Usually she comes home at night. Maybe she's working. She come home 3 hours, 4 hours later, earlier. And she comes in the house and she finds her best friend in the bed with her husband. Now you can imagine two persons that she loved dearly. She loves her husband and she loves her best friend as well. And she finds them in the bedroom. That could be a harrowing experience for anybody. We know that. Some people lose it, they kill and so forth and so on in a situation like this. Out of anguish, she runs outside and she screams. And people come running out of the street to find out what's wrong. And she can't talk good. My husband, he's with this woman inside the house. Perhaps if the husband come and they take her before the judge will see this young woman, the anguish, the pain that she felt, and she lost her mind for those minutes. And he may forgive her for this. So we have those circumstances as well. So my dear sisters and brothers, I gave you a short course on this, what we call the cursing in Islam. Let me go back again to recap. If the man comes home and he finds his wife in the shower, and he finds another man inside his bedroom, she's in the shower, he's still laying in his bed. One, he has no right to kill this man. Can't kill him. He has no right to harm him and beat him to death. Cannot do it. He has no right to lie on him to make an excuse so he could kill him. Cannot do it. He can't go get a knife, gun, hammer, or a stick or anything to go beat the sailor. He cannot do this. He cannot, from this point, he can usher the man out, tell him to get out. He doesn't have to be polite. There's nothing saying that. He don't have to be polite. He can yell at him, scream at him. He can get him out of his house. No problem. But at this point, he has no right to run down the street to talk about his wife, about what he saw. Secondly, from this point, he goes to his wife and she tries to explain. She may ask for forgiveness. She say, well, I didn't do anything. Yes, I was about to really have sexual relations with him. I didn't do it. So he goes to court. There inside the court, now he can talk. Remember that. Inside the courtroom, he can now talk. He can say what he saw. This is not slander. And he also can tell this to the Hezbollah police. If the Hezbollah police come, he goes to the Hezbollah to file his case. Hezbollah, he has the right to tell the Hezbollah why he's filing this case. And he's filing for divorce, and he wants the cursing, what is called the element of cursing in the divorce against his wife. He wants this implemented. He wants the judge to implement, meaning both swear that this didn't happen. So that's not slander. Now, again, at this point, the judge will have me swear 4 times to Allah that what I saw my wife, and I saw a strange man in my bed. I saw her in the thing. I'm charging her with, for debauchery, for allowing this man to come in, and that apparently looks like, but I didn't see the copulation, but I charge her for that. I swear the 4 times that she has done something with this man. The 5th is a punishment of life for lying. Now, again, the wife, she has to answer the call. She also now swears that she did not do this. She did not have this type of relationship with this man. And then the 5th oath is that the curse of subhanahu wa ta'ala be on her, and to the hellfire she goes, and the hellfire to him, whoever lies. So my dear sisters and brothers, this is a serious case that I just talked about. And these kind of cases like this are so prevalent today because the Sharia is gone. And because the Sharia is gone in most places, we have cases like this. We have men defaming women all over the place, outside. We have men running after women in the street. When we had the Sharia, we wouldn't have this. We have the Hezbollah going down there. The woman's supposed to be protected. We have men slandering women, chaste women, just because the girl didn't want to marry him, they go to slander her. This is prevalent everywhere today. We have liars where the man want to get rid of his wife. So he knows what he can do, because he says, hey, you know what? I live in a Muslim country, but I see another younger woman I want, but I don't know how to get my first wife out. So I go and lie. So I run to the police and lie and say, hey, you know what? I found this man. He jumped out the window. He was having sex with my wife. This is happening. So he can get her out of the house. He then writes it up and it gets sentenced before the Qadi. And we having this. So he can divorce her, so he can marry another woman. This is happening because we don't have the Sharia. We look inside the United States. We have a Me Too generation. How many now? I just read about one athlete who now women are coming forward claiming that he was inappropriate with them months ago. There's no witnesses. And because he's a wealthy athlete, they're also suing him in civil court as well. Interesting, isn't it? We know we have women in the United States who make money off doing this. And we have men too who go after famous athletes or famous actresses, and he goes to slander her so he can make money. He goes to civil court, and she doesn't want the publicity because it destroyed her career. So she has personal insurance, liability insurance. So the insurance company pays him $100,000, $200,000, $500,000 to keep him quiet. And he stipulates in court over his lie that he will not, talk about that. It's a big business in the United States. But for the African American who's not an athlete, we have a 400-year legacy of suffering from this. We have suffered from the Me Too generation and also from the rogue Tuba woman who has lied on us. We can go down the line. How about the Scottsboro boys? Come out of a movie house in segregated times. And a woman, in order to save her honor, because she was what? Having sexual relations with her lover. She didn't want, so if she go and lie and say that these 5 black kids did this to her, maybe she's off the hook. And those poor boys went to jail for it. Our poor ancestral brothers went to jail for it. How about our brothers in New York City? Remember that? And Donald Trump got involved in that. Remember the Antichrist, the Jal, ex-President Trump, he got involved. Remember, he said those kids, those young brothers should have been, I forgot, killed or hung up. I forgot what he said in the papers. Come to find out, they lied on those brothers. Remember that woman was found in the park, Central Park, many years ago. Those brothers have been on YouTube now talking about that. And this is the type of thing, again, under our law, we would put those people in jail. We would have put them in jail for lying like that. And our legacy, the 400-year legacy, because of the draconian laws of the United States, there's thousands of brothers have been lynched based upon a rogue Tuba woman who gave false testimony against a black man. And some of the cases were actually also where they were lovers. And there's a famous, remember in World War II, which I saw the movie and it almost brought me to tears. And the famous story, she was a British woman, and her brother began to have an affair with her. And when it was determined, it was discovered that he had the affair, the husband turned around and said that this was a rape case. The white woman suddenly decided it was rape after she's been with this black man for a long time in the war. And they hung him for it. Years later, she testified that she was under pressure to do it, but she killed him. She had him killed. How many brothers we see on movies, not movies, in books and magazines, historians show brothers burnt to the stake over lie, over some woman, over sex case like this. Many. You say, yeah, but they don't do it as much. You know what? If I showed you my phone right now, I could open up my phone and look at my Facebook and my YouTube, and guess what I find? The same rogue Tuba, his ancestors who've been killing our ancestors, they're sending me sexually, hardcore pornography. Yeah. And then if this had been in yesteryear, I would have been killed for it, especially in Alabama, Mississippi, and Georgia, in North Carolina, South Carolina. They might have killed me for that because they show white women in hardcore pornography positions. They send this stuff to my account. They have not stopped this. So this is why the Sharia is important, my sisters and brothers. Why I love it, because it protects my rights. It protects your rights as well. And this is why the Tuba doesn't like the Sharia and he wants to dismantle, because it doesn't favor him. And it doesn't allow him to, like in the United States, where everything's geared around him. So in a nutshell, my dear sisters and brothers, I gave you examples here of the cursing in Islam, how this comes about, and how important it is, my sisters and brothers, that we are civil, even in times of trauma. Things happen inside the house. They should stay inside the house. If there's an argument between me and my wife and words are said, I should not run outside to the brothers in the masjid and tell some things on her? Can I do it? My wife, in anger, cannot run out of the house and begin to slander me with the sisters. Can I do it? We must keep everything inside the house. This is the best. And if we do have to go and part ways, now we go before the judge and we talk. Now we can be clear, and this is not slander. Subhanahu wa ta'ala has told you, you have the right. He told you here. He said, you have the right to do this. And this is in 6. Let me read this and we close up here. He talks about the man who comes in the house and finds his wife in a compromising position with another man. He says in 6, and for those who launch a charge against their spouses have in support no evidence but their own, meaning what he saw only. Their solitary evidence can be received if they bear witness 4 times with an oath by Allah that they are solemnly telling the truth. This is not slander. Subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving you a way to tell the truth, because you can't let debauchery go and get unpunished, because this is your house. You have the right to protect your family. And you find your wife in this position. Now, we know cases that maybe she may come, you know, you did this to me. I was angry with you. And the man came in the house and I did this. If you want to forgive her, there's nothing saying that you don't have to forgive. I mean, you can forgive her, but if you don't want to forgive her, don't slander her, my dear brothers. Don't do that. You go to the court, and there you can talk. And if we have the Hezbollah police with the Sharia police, then of course we can give you a statement to them. But you don't go out and give statements to the whole neighborhood what you had inside your house. Can't do it. It's slander. But you go to the court before the judge, and you can tell the case, bit blow by blow, what you saw. Subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving you authority here in this, in 6, and verse 6. So my dear brothers and sisters, I gave you a short course today on the Sharia law as far as the cursing, the damning of a spouse by the other spouse. How are we supposed to do it? And it's a serious, serious matter. And as I always specify to you, I'm not apologizing for this. My show is not flashy. I don't have the flashy, things. I'm not a computer wizard. I can't, I don't have all the flashy things. That's not what I'm about. I'm not looking to get 10,000, 20,000, 40,000 subscribers and start bragging about it. That's not me either. What I want to do is give you information like this, because Subhanahu wa ta'ala rewards me for this. And I educate Muslims and non-Muslims about Islam and about our law to clear up the matters. Subhanahu wa ta'ala has given me knowledge, and we're supposed to pass this knowledge on. This is what I'm doing, because this is what I'm supposed to do. And I'm also your elder brother. And my experiences, I should be able to come to you to talk to you about things that I've learned because of my experiences, so you don't make the same mistakes, or to understand especially Islam is the religion better. This is my story, what I want to do with you. So I don't have the flashiness. I'm an older man. You look at me. I'm not flashy, daring. There's a lot of nice looking brothers on the tube now. They got 1,000 and some views, 2,000. That's fine. I congratulate those brothers. But you know what? If I get one of you to say to me, Yahya, I just learned something today. Thank you for teaching me my religion. I'm happy. I get my reward from Subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm happy for that. If I reach one of you, I'm happy. This is my goal. And this is what that drives me, not money, not all of the accolades, not 10,000, 50,000 subscribers. No. I never push anybody to subscribe. I never do anything like this. I just only come here in a bland environment to teach. And that's it. And this is what I'm happy about. And so my dear brothers and sisters, I want to thank all of you again. My sister, Amina, she came. I see Jahari thank you, my dear sister, for showing up, supporting your brother. I'm happy that you showed up today. I really appreciate that. My dear brother, Isaac, as always usual, my dear brother, you're always there. You're always behind my back. Truly, truly. I love you, dear brother. And we have here, I don't see, let's see here. I don't see who else. That's it. I thought I saw somebody else. Okay. Yeah. So my dear brothers and sisters, I'll close it up here. This is Saturday. I know in the West, you guys have things to do in the morning and listen to your brother ramble on here. And so I'm hoping, my dear brothers and sisters, that you did learn something. And I'm hoping Subhanahu wa Ta'ala blesses us and keeps us safe, especially those living in the United States, so that you walk out of your house in safety, and that Subhanahu wa Ta'ala protects your family as well. And that Subhanahu wa Ta'ala blesses you and gives you knowledge and gives you give from his bounty, and that he helps you and protect you from the wickedness of the world. And I hope Subhanahu wa Ta'ala also gives you knowledge, and he gives you wisdom, and the mothers give them patience so they can teach their children, and the brothers give them patience to be patient with their wife and children and inside their houses. So my dear brothers and sisters, with all that said, I'll leave you with the words of heaven. Salamu alaikum, rahmatullahi barakatuh.